Why do you say that, Father? You aren't afraid, are you?
No, but I respect some of the superstitions of others. Often they are founded in fact.
This is your time. This is your call to arms. For the Cryptid Connection is your voice. I'm your host, Jennifer.
And I'm your host, Stephen. Welcome to Cryptid Connection.
The Cryptid Connection podcast is brought to you by CryptidConnection.com, a website dedicated to you, one who has interest in all things cryptid and paranormal. CC is a place where you can enjoy a hassle-free lifestyle and community of Bigfoot pursuit. All our podcast guests are members of the website. Stop by via the internet and visit. Guarantee you will start to feel at home. CryptidConnection.com.
Are you ready? Are you ready to try? In a holy Mount Zion, you got to make your decisions, but don't wait too long.
Hi, everybody. This episode, we've got Barry Brown with us. Barry Brown's a local researcher from Northeast Texas, and we've been privileged to have him on Cryptid Connection.
Hello, Barry. How are you tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Not bad.
We're doing pretty good.
Little bit warm, but not bad.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Been hot here lately.
Oh, you have no... Yeah, there's absolutely no doubt about that at all. Barry, do us a favor real quick. Most people probably aren't familiar with you. Can you give us kind of a background? Who were you before Bigfoot? And then what got you into Bigfoot or just cryptid research in general?
What got you hooked?
Yeah.
What got me hooked? Well, actually, as far as my background, I'm a remodeler. I have my own business doing construction, home repairs, and just about anything in the construction field. That's what I do. But quite a few years ago, I was a truck driver. I drove a truck over the road for about 5.5 years, and for almost 10 years, I was a welder. So, been pretty busy. A lot of hard labor jobs, and I just what got me into Bigfoot was I just happened to be on YouTube, probably 2.5 years ago, and ran across some Bigfoot information, and I thought, wow, I was very intrigued back in the 60s when the Patterson-Gimlin film came out, and I thought, wow, but I always thought that Bigfoot was up in the northwest. And then I ran across some channels that were showing that there were Bigfoot close to me, and I'm thinking, really? I'd like to really check this out. So I got in touch with one of the YouTube guys, and he invited me out to go researching with him, and I did. The very first day I went in, I saw my first Bigfoot within the first 30 minutes, and I was in shock.
Oh, I bet.
It was.
That's extremely unusual. You really lucked out with that.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Because he told me before I went in, he said, I can't guarantee you'll see anything, but I can show you some evidence, some tree breaks, tree bends, and some structures, and sure enough, that we saw a lot of that, that first day. But that first 30 minutes, that particular moment changed my life. Absolutely. And, before I went that day, I thought, well, if I see a Bigfoot it's either going to scare me so bad that I won't ever want to go back in the woods again, or I'm going to be so intrigued that I'm going to pursue this for a while. And it happened to be the latter, you know. It wasn't, and I've never, ever had an aggressive encounter. I know a lot of people say that, you know, they're aggressive, but my definition of aggressive is a lot different than a lot of people. I don't even think a bluff charge would be aggressive. That's just,
Well, they're creatures, they're animals.
Testing. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes, but they're extremely intelligent animals. I've come to the conclusion that they are as smart in the woods and primitively as we are technologically. They use tactics that are extreme military type tactics, as far as evasion and recon. I mean, they can. I think their eyesight is so good they can see you from 100 yards away, like you see them through binoculars.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, look at eagles and hawks and, you know, owls. They all have extremely good eyesight, and any nocturnal animal has extremely good eyesight. So, I think it's possible that they can see way better than we can, especially at night.
I would concur. So since you've already had an encounter, I have a curiosity I'd like to put forth for you. Could you create for me, just imagine, your perfect Bigfoot encounter? What equipment would you be using? How would you see the creature? Would it be that up close or far away, daytime, nighttime? Would you get the perfect picture? What's in your head the perfect Bigfoot encounter?
Yeah, what's your dream scenario?
Exactly.
What is my dream scenario? Eventually getting close enough to communicate in some way, somehow, with a close encounter. Whether that be by gifting or them becoming comfortable enough to get close to me, because I really think that, and there are, there's people out there that claim that they have had encounters like that, really close encounters, and encounters that are not aggressive and not scary. But, and I wonder if they know that they scare us, and some people they become comfortable enough with that they don't think they're going to scare them when they get close. I don't know. That's just a thought that I've had many times. But I would really like to have a good close encounter, but not a bad one. I think they're a lot like us in the way that they protect their home. For example, if you had a group of people come in your front yard, you're going to come out and just snooping around, looking and seeing what you've got in your yard. You're going to come out the front door and holler at them and run them off. They do the same thing when you get in their area by throwing sticks or throwing rocks, growling or making a huffing sound. And then again, if you look at hunters that go in their area that they've been using, and that's their area where they get food, if they're killing deer or whatever, that's their source of food.
Mm-hmm.
In the same sense, if somebody was to come in your house and start rummaging around in your freezer and taking the meat out of your freezer, you'd be pretty mad. So I think they look at that the same way when you've got, several accounts where they have been aggressive enough to tear people's barns up or tear people's stuff up, but those people have moved in there and started hunting on their, in their kitchen. And so I think they kind of protect their home and their food source the same way we do,
That's a very interesting way to put it. I honestly have not really thought of it that way, but yeah, it's like us coming over and invading their fridge.
Yes, absolutely. And, that's just like they know every inch of the area that they stay in. If you go in there and move a rock, that would be almost the same if somebody came in your house and came in your living room and removed one of the knickknacks off of your table. When you come in, you're going to know it's gone. And I think they know if you move stuff around. If you move one of their structures, say they've got a tree stuck up in the fork of another one, if you go and move that, they're going to know you did. Just the same as if somebody came in your house and moved some of your furniture.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think they are, I think they're extremely intelligent. I really do. But I don't think that they have, they're just trying to survive. The same as the Native Americans did, 200 years ago, 300 years ago. They survived off the land. They didn't have any technology whatsoever. And these things have, and if you listen to the Native Americans, they consider them just another people,
Mm-hmm.
and they either traded with them or they stayed away from them, one of the two. So at least that's, from the stories I've heard from the Native Americans, that's a lot. And the Native Americans they really don't tell a lot about what they know. It's very private to them. It's very it's a very spiritual thing for the Native Americans.
Yeah. Have you studied much about the Native Americans and their legends concerning Sasquatch in the regions that you research?
A little bit, not a whole lot. I do know in the areas that I've been in, and there's another area that I'd like to go to, there was one that was called the Massacre of Chief Bowles, and there was this chief and at least 200 men, women, and children that were massacred by the Union Army back in the 1800s. And it's not far from where I live. There's a lot of spiritual stuff that goes on there. I don't know if it's ghosts or what. I want to go check it out and see. I just haven't had a chance to yet. I have also heard that where I go researching now in the Mineola Nature Preserve, there were Native Americans that were killed there too. I don't know if that's a fact. I just heard that. I need to check into that a little bit farther and see, because where I've been researching, there is a lot of strange things that go on in there. I haven't had an encounter that I know of. I mean, I may have been watched and not known it, but I do know that there is a lot of activity where I've researched, and I know some people that have had sightings in this area, and it's like 2,500 acres, something like that. And it's all protected land, it's a nature preserve.
Yeah. We've been there before.
Right next to that, across the highway from that, is what they call the wetlands, and it goes probably 8 miles deep to the west, and probably 3 or 4 miles, 5 miles deep north to south. And that's all protected land, and it's right adjacent to the nature preserve. So I don't doubt. As a matter of fact, I've got a cousin that has a sighting in that area, and there's another guy that I know that had a sighting on his property, not 5 miles from where I live. And I live probably 12 miles from the nature preserve, and he's halfway between me and the nature preserve. So, and it's all the same woods that are connected, there.
All right. So you've had, if I understand correctly, you have in the past had a couple of encounters total during your research efforts. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Alrighty. But you're mentioning that at the particular place you research now, you have yet to have an actual encounter. Am I correct?
Right.
Okay. All right.
Now, I'll tell you, I do have some pictures that have, I'm going to call them anomalies for lack of a better word, because they're not very clear, not really. I don't even think you could call it a blob squatch, but there's absolutely something there, because I've gone back and taken, another picture in that same area, and what was there in one picture wasn't there in another picture. But I'm just going to call it an anomaly, because I really can't say for sure what it was.
Interesting. What is that sound?
That's my cat.
Okay, I was wanting to make. Oh no, it's okay. I was thinking it was a cat, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Cat's
She's,
name?
her name's Eleanor, and she talks a lot. She loves to talk. So.
We have a kitty cat that meows. I was wondering if it was a cat, because ours is Wheezy, and she makes sure she's known. If you don't, if you ignore her, she says, "Hey, I'm here."
Right. If you don't pay attention to them, they let you know it sometimes.
That's very true. Hey, I got a question. First off, let's get an idea of how you research. No, I'm not necessarily meaning where. I'm thinking about your techniques. What's your field?
Time of day, your favorite equipment to use.
Those kinds of things. Tell us about what you do.
When I go anywhere I go, I pay a lot of attention to what's on the ground, looking for footprints, and you run across coon tracks and deer tracks, and, sometimes you run across wolf or coyote tracks, and even cat tracks. I've seen some pretty big cat tracks. One of the places that I've been had alligators, and I've seen some alligator tracks as big as my hand. But here in Northeast Texas, and really all over Texas, and even in the Red River, you've got alligators. So
yikes.
I've never actually seen one in the wild, but I have seen evidence of them. And I don't know if I want to see one up close or not.
I'm almost more scared of an alligator
not in
than
the wild,
Bigfoot.
anyway. And as a matter of fact, I think one of the ponds that's in the Mineola Nature Preserve is called something Alligator Pond or something. I don't know, but Alligator Trail. I don't know, but there's definitely alligators in there. And as far as and then I'm looking for any kind of possible structure that I can see, either tree breaks or tree bends, and not all of those are Bigfoot. A lot of people some people will walk through and say, "Oh, well, that's Bigfoot." And, I really try to be objectionable about it and try to figure out if nature could have caused that, maybe the wind or a storm, or if it's not natural. But when you've got a 6-inch in diameter oak tree that's been over and stuck, 8 or 10 inches in the ground, I don't think a storm's done that, And I found several in the nature preserve that were like that. I found some places that looked like they were either manipulated the trees so the vines would grow on them and either make a canopy for a shelter or a canopy for a blind. Most of it looks really natural because the vines are growing on it, but if you start looking in, and when you've got trees that are weaved together, and trees that are broken off that are surrounded by other trees, where the wind, and it's not a big heavy tree that could be broken off by the wind. The wind's being blocked by the other trees, and it's broken off. It's not a dead tree. To me, that's not natural. So, and I may be wrong. And, the farther I get into it, and the more I learn, that, you can figure out what may be natural and what may be not, the more
right.
experience you get at really, really observing things, and checking them out close, not just looking at it and say, oh, well, there's a tree bend, Bigfoot did that. Go and check that bend out and see, is it stuck is the top of it stuck in the ground, or is it, did the vines weigh it down, or does it have any vines on it at all? There's just you have to be really objectionable about, the different things that are in the woods. Because like I said, there's a lot of things that can be caused by nature, and you just got to really observe really close.
I know Jennifer and I noticed just a couple of weeks ago when we were on vacation in New Mexico, up in the Sacramento Mountains. We were both commenting how very different the forests look up there as opposed to down here in Texas and in Oklahoma.
Massively different.
I mean, yes, you do have. You have very different. You've got different trees. You've got different fauna or flora and stuff like that. But the thing that we were noticing was in a heavily snowed region. I mean, we're up there, 7, 8, 9,000 feet. These things are snow capped all winter long.
In fact, it sleeted while we were there and it covered ground.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And yet we had hardly any bows, any breaks.
Straight up.
Yeah, almost everything was a straight up tree. And, nothing compared to what you go, we go into Texas, and there are some areas we've gone into where you hardly see a thing. But then you'll find things like where we're talking about with you, and other parts. I know of several places in southeast Texas as well that you'll see the breaks everywhere.
Yeah,
you'll see the
manipulated.
bows. Yeah, I know.
Mm-hmm.
I know. In southeast Oklahoma, the trees will bow all over the place. They will bow all over the place. And
that's the thing. We really don't know for sure that it's Bigfoot doing that.
That's true,
because we've never seen him do it. We've just seen it, the aftermath. And
yeah, you're correct about that. And the thing was, where we were at in the Sacramento Mountains has a decent history of encounters and Sasquatch activity. And so there's, assuming that history is valid, that the people aren't just making it up out of whole cloth, there's been a long enough time period of having encounters there that you believe, okay, there is probably a small population that's living in this area. But we didn't see any of the, or very little of any of the type of sign that, people tend to want to assign to Bigfoot or things like that. And I think you're right when you say we don't know what it is that's causing that. We don't know. It could be disease. It could be, it could simply be just different types of trees, and they behave differently in a similar situation. A lot of tree bows I've seen are just where trees are reaching out to get into the sun, and they've started to grow sideways, and their own weight starts to pull them back down.
Well, and another thing too, like some oak trees, for example. It's a very hard wood. Now, how could you manipulate and bend a tree over and make it stay? Another thought I've had on that is, what if when that tree was small and a sapling, it got bent over, and then as it grew, it made this big, huge arch.
That's
a possibility too.
No, you're correct. That is very similar to how Indians used to make marker trees.
Exactly.
Because they would take a sapling or a young tree, and they would bend it over, and I mean we're talking a decent bend, almost
it's kind
like
of like
U.
grafting it.
Yeah.
Shape.
And then they would wrap sinew and leather around it and hold it there, and they would leave this strap that's holding the tree down for years, and the tree would just kind of grow, and because the strap would be bending it back towards the ground, and the tree would self-correct it would correct itself and start going straight back up, and so you get this lightning bolt pattern of a tree.
Yes, like an L or a Z.
A Z, yes.
Yes, I have actually seen those in places that were an area where Native Americans lived. Brown Springs is one of those places. The Brown Springs Cemetery is on top of an old Indian burial ground, supposedly.
Right, been there. And
I have seen a couple of those Z-looking trees in that area.
Really?
Yes, and they're great big. I mean, they're like 10 inches in diameter now.
Oh yeah, they're like 100 years old.
And I'm almost positive that was, could have been from Native Americans 150, 200 years ago.
Right.
I really don't have any doubt in my mind that was done by the Native Americans. And those, they used those. They did that for directional markers, for different things. Like, maybe it was the point towards, a water source or back towards where their camp was. But, it's because, you get in some of these deep woods and if you get very deep in, things start looking the same real quick. And, if you're not using a compass or, you can lose your bearings really quick.
Yes, you can.
At night. I've even done that in the daytime, and you start seeing things that, as you're coming out, that look like what you saw when you came in, and you're in a completely different area from where you came in. So, yeah, you can get disoriented really, really quick in thick woods.
Oh yeah, yeah. They start looking all the same, and it doesn't matter where you go.
Yes, that's right, and that's true all over. Everywhere, all over the world. I mean, it's the same.
You've been around the block long enough, and you've had one or two encounters, which puts you actually more experienced than a lot of people say they are. Can you tell us something that you've figured out on your own about these animals? I mean, have you? I guess what I'm asking for is, do you have any theories that are essentially that you have to yourself proven correct,
that you've discovered through your own research?
Yeah, or something like that.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I'm not trying, and I'm asking it, but I'm not. How do I put this? Because I'll probably edit this out. I'm afraid the question sounds like, hey Barry, do you have an original thought? And that's not what I'm asking. I'm saying you have had unique experiences that are only to you. Do you have something that you think Yeah.
I believe that they use like tree knocks and rock clacks, and I've heard that they make a clicking noise with their mouth. I don't know if that's true or not. But I do believe that they use those as communication the same way, a deaf person uses sign language. Certain tree knocks mean a certain thing to them, certain rock clacks do. And when, you hear these whoops that some people have got on audio, and I've heard one or two of those, I think that's a way of communication. I mean, you look at wolves and coyotes; they do the same thing. The male will howl and bring the pack into him. You know,
right?
Mm-hmm.
This could be the same thing that the Bigfoot's doing. You know, maybe they've just made a kill, and they're bringing in the rest of the group, you know, for dinner. I mean, that's a thought that's crossed my mind. I don't know if that's true or not. It's just, but I do believe that they use all of that for communication. I have seen where they use sentinels to watch people when they're coming in, especially if you're getting in close to their area, which are, you know, their living room, so to speak. They will have sentinels that are watching and keeping tabs on where you're at in the woods. I've experienced that firsthand.
Okay.
Is there a theory that you specifically have that when brought into a public forum of some sort, nobody else believes you? Maybe something you've experienced personally, or you have thought about personally that they just, other people don't buy?
Where do you think everybody else is a quacko?
You know, I've seen some really weird things in the woods that just didn't make sense. And I mean, I'm not going to say I'm with the woo crowd, so to speak. And I know some people out there know what that is. But I have, I've seen in pictures things, and I'm talking really clear pictures that I've got personally that came out in the picture that was within 20 feet of me, and I didn't see it with my naked eye. Now, I'm not going to say that that's cloaking. Maybe I just didn't see it. You know, I don't know yet. I'm still investigating that part. But I've kind of got one theory, and it's really kind of off the wall. People can believe it or not.
Hey, we're all about off the wall.
Please share.
Just from what I've seen, and I wonder if, and I've heard people talk about, you know, realms and dimensions, and I think we're using two words for the same thing as far as realms and dimensions. And I've also heard that they can travel from realm to realm or dimension to dimension, whatever. If that's true, what if, and time and space are connected. What if they're 1 second ahead of us in time and space, and we don't see them with the naked eye?
Well, Barry, right now, it's all about theories and ideas and possibilities until there is a creature out there that has been proven by natural science. That's my theory.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, that's one thing that I don't understand about these DNA tests, because there's been so many DNA tests run, and they keep saying that it comes up inconclusive or whatever because it doesn't match to what they have as a fact. You know, say human DNA and dog DNA and, you know, bear DNA or whatever. It doesn't match any of those. Well,
of course it's not going to match.
Why can't they take those samples and use that as a basis for other samples? And if they match, then wouldn't that mean that there's some conclusive evidence there? I mean, I don't know.
I actually like that I like that as a starting scientific theory. I think someone should do that.
Yeah,
take all these inconclusives and line them up
and see if there's a match
between
them.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, how did they get that conclusive evidence on other things the same way? You take your DNA from one bear, and does it match another bear? then that DNA means that bear is in the same clan. You find DNA from another bear, and it's a little bit different, so that's a bear from a different clan. The same way with people. I mean, we've got all of this ancestry stuff going on now where you can send your DNA in, and it gives you your history of you know, where everybody in your, you know, in your genealogy falls. Why can't we do the same thing with Bigfoot? You know, I just, and maybe it is because the scientific community is controlled by the government. I don't know. They're at least funded by them anyway. The ones that make the decisions are funded by the government. So
right. Okay, here's our next question, and this is a little bit of a character revealer. It's actually aimed to find out kind of just not only who you are, but how you handle stuff.
And it's just for fun.
Yeah, it's a fun question. So it's nothing's meant to. There is nothing in our shows that are ever meant to be anything other than interesting and fun.
No exposés here.
But
okay,
the question's a little bit of a zinger. And okay, Barry, what is the absolute most stupid thing you've ever done in the woods?
Your oops moment.
Yeah, if you could go back and say, man, you know, every time you think about it, you're like, oh, I can't believe I did that. You know, or something like that. Because we all have, we all do something dumb. What was yours?
A close encounter with a mountain lion.
Really? Now,
Yeah,
you know, that doesn't sound like an oops moment to me.
Within about 10 feet of it, and it was at night. And
that's close.
That it was probably the most scary encounter I've ever had in the woods. But I was 19 years old, and I mean, and I've been going in the woods since I was 6. You know, I mean, I started deer hunting when I was like 8 years old. So you know, I've been in the woods most all my life. But that is the most intense, scary moment I've ever, and it was one of those oh shit moments.
So is it like I should have known better? Kind of an oops moment?
Yeah, did you put yourself in a bad situation? Or
because the situation was, we knew that there was probably a big cat there because we had found a carcass, a cow carcass that had been covered up. Mm-hmm. The only thing that covers up a carcass is a bear and a big cat. And come to find out, it was a mama with 3 babies.
Yikes.
And yeah, that was a pretty scary encounter. And when she screamed, it made the hair stand up on my back. So,
I like his oops moment.
Yeah.
I wish my oops moment was like that. Yeah. Mine's like, I walked into this tree, you know, or something, you know, or
mine, like I mistook something for a snake and screamed bloody murder and scared everybody else around me.
Yes, this is true. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
See, he's got a real
That's
oops
a
moment.
good
this
one.
Is good.
That's a good one to learn from.
Yes, it is.
That hindsight, we should have never went out there that night, you know. And when it happened, the truck was about probably half a mile away from us, and we were chest deep in weeds in the pasture. So, yeah, that was a dumb move. And we actually had guns, but with one flashlight and pitch black dark and you're chest deep in weeds, flashlight's not going to help much, you know. I have one other story to tell about Brown Springs. I went in with a friend of mine, and you know who it is. I'd rather not say any names on, unless I have permission from those people, you know. But anyway, we went to Brown Springs, and we went about 2 miles farther down than I've ever researched. And we went down. There's several little roads that you can go down that take you down from the main road down to the Red River. And we walked down this road. Actually, it was during the rainy season this year, and ended up having to walk nearly knee deep in water to get to where we were going, because we couldn't drive. I mean, we were still on the road, but it was all flooded out. We got down to a certain spot, and the road widened off, and one part went down like a meadow, like through a meadow between the woods, and the other one turned off into the woods.
Oh,
and
yeah.
this section of woods was really dark and creepy. It really was. I mean, almost like an old enchanted forest. It didn't have that feel, because that's another thing too. I've experienced that, where there was a really heavy feeling at Brown Springs, that the air was really thick, and that's when I've had encounters. Other times I've been in the same spot, and it didn't feel like that at all. It just felt like every other patch of woods I've been in. But anyway, the canopy over this was really thick, so it was pretty dark in the woods. We came to one spot on the road where somebody had camped out, but this camp had been abandoned, and it looked like they left in a big hurry. There were towels hanging on limbs. There was a T-shirt that was draped over a limb.
Barry?
There was a big tarp that was left there.
You're saying that was
There
this
was
year?
a blanket. There was a lady's makeup that was dumped out on the ground close to the campfire. And it was makeup that wasn't all used up, that they were just throwing away. It looked like, yes, about 5 months. It was in the
You've
spring.
got us
early
intrigued
summer.
now, because we've
seen something like that right down there off of, like, I think it was the third road. You know, you go around the corner at the base of the hill where the cemetery is, and then you keep going down the road, and I'm thinking it's like the third, maybe the fourth road going to the right, going towards the river. We went back there, but the thing is, this was about, 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
And the road goes up there, the road goes back, and it dead ends in a wooded area. One side of it's kind of is a meadow or a field. You know, it looked like a hay field or something. And then the other side's woods.
Yeah.
And you keep driving down the road a little bit, and it's not that long of a road. It's maybe a quarter mile, something like that, half mile. I don't remember exactly. But anyway, it ends up, and it kind of bears to the right a little bit, and it comes to a cleared area inside the wooded area. And you'd have to get out and walk the rest of the way to get to the river. Well, not far from this area, because it's a perfect camp spot. Not far from this camp spot, I'd say probably 50 or 75 feet up the road from the camp spot, up from the end.
Right.
We found there was clothing in the trees. That was the thing. One of them was little kids' clothing. It was like a little pair of jeans.
And there were expended shotgun shells.
There were shotgun shells around on that one. There was a lot of shotgun shells.
Wow. How far up? How far up were the clothing?
Oh, they were above.
They were taller than I am.
Well, they were taller than the Durango. We were in the Durango at the time, so I'd put them at 7 to 9 feet. I didn't measure them, but they were above our vehicle. And so
we got a creep.
That's really strange.
Yeah. I mean, this, and I'm not talking like they were hung up there to dry or anything like that. No, they had been tossed up there.
They were dirty
or something. They were dirty. Yeah, they were dirty, and they'd been tossed up there. And now, at the time, you think, well, you got some people out here, families, one little brother threw his other little brother's pants up in the tree or something. You don't think of it too much, but it is something that we thought about. Now, there was no torn up camp type situation. We didn't see any evidence of that. The campsite area itself was clean and clear. We parked there because
there was no evidence of like a garbage bag that had been left around with some old clothes or whatever either.
No, there wasn't. It was just the clothes in the trees. And it was only 2 or 3 items. It wasn't very many. But it's just odd that you're saying
Mm-hmm.
2 years later, and essentially, that you found essentially the same thing, if not more, because you've also got evidence of a campsite that was abandoned, things like that. But we're still seeing the stuff in the trees, and that is really interesting.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And see, and another thing that makes me think that they left in a hurry, because back down the road, closer to where we parked, not far from this campsite, back where the road widened off, it was closer to the main road from that, but it wasn't far from the Y. It looked like stuff had bounced out of somebody's truck. You know, there was like a casserole dish and, you know, a phone charger and just little stuff that trash that people throw in the back of their
And
van,
you wouldn't leave that behind.
But it looked like
this isn't like being dumped or anything like that.
No, this was like, I mean, the casserole dish or whatever, or a little hot plate or whatever it was, and it had a glass lid, was in good shape. It looked almost brand new. Why would you leave something like that? You know? And it looked like this stuff had bounced out of a truck, maybe. You know, as they were coming out, as they were leaving in a hurry. I don't know. It was really, really
What was
strange.
What was the condition of the road at that time? Was it muddy? Was it?
Yeah, it was. Well, there was one part that was nearly knee deep in water.
Okay. Now you're thinking it's happened before
I
the water
can possibly
arrived,
say
or?
that. Yes, because everything there was wet. Everything that was on the ground was all wet. Now, another scenario that I thought of is maybe they got caught in a downpour storm and left in a hurry. That's possible too. I mean, that's very possible. But, I mean, even if it's pouring down rain, why would you leave in such a big hurry? I mean, when a storm's coming up, you know a storm's coming, you know.
Yeah, that you do. You don't get surprised. I mean, if you define surprise as in within 30 minutes, then yeah, you can get surprised. But you've got some minutes warning, yeah.
If you're camping out and you see a big, and you know, here in Texas and Oklahoma, we have some pretty bad storms, you know, a lot of tornadoes. And when you see one of those storms coming, you know to gather stuff up and put it up, you know. Why would you leave your camping stuff there?
Exactly. Most people check the weather and they'd know about it. So that stuff being left behind, it's an interesting theory that a storm came up, but it's unlikely.
Yeah. Whatever you got is it does seem to indicate people left or left quickly. It does do that. Now, you know, we have no basis to speculate what it is that caused them to leave early. I mean, that's just theorizing on our own part, and you know, which is fine. That's what we're here for. But there is the evidence that someone did get up and leave early, and that's the interesting thing. Now, we got to remember this is the area that I think it was Bear. No, I think it was Kunbo, or one of them anyway. One of the outlaws. They were talking about, was it Bear that was talking about the murder that had happened back there in the late 90s, early 2000s? Yeah. People ought to understand, this is that exact area.
Yes, it was actually that murder happened right across the road from the cemetery. And supposedly it was a couple that were having sex on the back of the car. And the guy got his head turned around and thrown in the creek, and the girl was eviscerated.
Yeah. That's about what we've heard, too.
That's the story that I heard. And I've heard information from somebody that claims that they know the sheriff that investigated that. That was actually pretty much covered up. They just kind of made it hush-hush. But he said that, yes, it did happen. So
yeah, it's not a story you want in the media.
And that, you know, that's still hearsay, you know, as far as I'm concerned, that's still hearsay, but it is a very, very interesting story. I can tell you another thing too. I've got a comparison picture of a huge, and it's only a shadow. People call it a blob squatch if they want. The comparison was me standing in the same spot. I'm standing on a log and holding my walking stick about 3-4 feet above my head.
Uh-huh.
And this stick only came to this thing's chest. Certain people that claim that there are still giants.
Yeah, they do.
That live in the mountains.
I'm very much not sure about that, but who am I to say? That. Go ahead.
Well, I know one person that a lot of people don't credit that person or believe that person, but I think this person is pretty credible about what they say about the giants, and they have a lot of information.
Yeah,
that's more. A lot of it comes from the Native Americans. The information that this person gives out is I think is pretty credible.
Okay.
Especially after some of the things that I've seen coincide exactly with what this person has said. So to me, that, makes them pretty credible, at least for me. I don't speak for anybody else. I have my own ideas and my own thoughts about things. They may be right, they may be wrong. I don't know. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I want to learn, and it is very much a learning experience. Everything in the Bigfoot community is absolutely speculation. We have absolutely no credible proof, even though we have proof.
Right.
There's a lot of people that say, oh, well, it's exactly this, and it's a Nephilim, or it's this, or it's that, but we really don't know. For a fact, we don't know. So it's all speculation. And I feel like if more people in the Bigfoot community, if they would quit arguing with each other over their evidence and just compare their evidence and put their evidence together, all those little small pieces of the puzzle are going to make a big piece of the puzzle.
Coincidentally, that is exactly what we're trying to get together with Cryptid Connection. We encourage everybody to share their ideas, their thoughts, their theories, because right now that's all they are. And, a lot of them will match. A lot of them might lead to more evidence that is credible and usable in the community. And, just share it. That's our theory.
Right. Oh, absolutely. And the proverbial rabbit hole that people talk about is very deep, and it has a lot of branches.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that a lot of this paranormal stuff and, Bigfoot cloaking and, aliens and whatever evidence people are finding, whatever people are seeing is somehow connected in one way or another. I really do. But where that connection is, we're only going to be able to find it if people get together with their information.
Absolutely.
And stop arguing with each other and stop saying, oh, well, you're absolutely wrong. Well, maybe a little bit of what they're saying is right,
mm-hmm.
Or maybe all of it. We do, put it with the information that you've got and compare it and, be a little bit, I used to think I was open-minded, but since I've seen everything that I've seen, I'm more open-minded now than I've ever been on everything. I'm not just investigating and researching things on Bigfoot. I'm researching Dogman and the aliens and just paranormal stuff. I've got an EMF meter, and it's just a ghost meter. It's a cheap one.
Barry, could we maybe have you back on? I'd love to get into the other paranormal stuff with you. I happen to find that fascinating.
Oh,
I'd love to create another episode just with that stuff on it.
Yes.
Would you be amenable to that?
Yes, absolutely. You know,
We will contact you with a later
even,
date
you
for
know,
that then. That's awesome. Thank you.
even shadow people.
Ooh, that creeps me out.
Well, I have a little problem with that here at my house.
Well, here, that actually leads...
we can talk about that. We can talk about that at another time.
That actually leads me into
I've experienced that
one
myself.
of my favorite questions. And it's another one of those fun ones. So tell me, what monster is under your bed? What is your boogeyman in the closet? What makes Barry shudder with fear?
I would say, well, it used to be werewolves,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but then again, I'm very intrigued at the same thing. That scares me, you know. I think a lot of people are like that. It's sort of like roller coasters, you know. People get on roller coasters because they like the excitement. You know, people go skydiving and hang gliding for the excitement, and you know, mountain climbing. So I think that's just human nature. But I have had a couple of Dogman encounters, so the werewolf really doesn't scare me anymore. Now, there is a big difference between werewolves and Dogman. That's a whole other topic. But you know, for most of my life, I'd say werewolf, and that's mainly because of the werewolf movies that they've had out. You know, they're pretty
It seems
scary.
like they can shred you pretty quick in the movies, anyways.
Yeah, it does. All right, Barry.
You know, I think movies have enhanced most people's fear of different things. You know, movies can bring out a lot of things that are in the closet or under the bed that you've always been scared of, and they bring it to life on you know, on a big screen.
Yeah.
So I think that's enhanced people's fear of a lot of things. But, you know, like we've been told, there's no such things as monsters. Well, I'm sorry to say, but yes, there is. You know, or at least what we perceive as monsters. They may not be, but we perceive it that way.
All right, Barry. It's time to torture you. We have to do this on every show.
We have a fun game that all of our interviewees like to play. Would you like to play our fun game? It's called the Quick Cryptid Connection Query.
You know, I didn't say query in the last episode. I think I said quiz.
It's a Quick Cryptid Connection Query.
I'm sorry, all you fans. I messed it up.
Anyway, please describe what you'll be... Yeah, you get to do it tonight.
Do I get to do it? Okay. All right, Barry. On this quiz, you've got 3 possible answers. We're going to give you a name. If you believe in it, you say yay. If you do not believe in it, you say nay. If you have absolutely no idea in hell what we're even talking about, you say what. And as creative of a say what as you can get, there's extra points.
Say what?
Yeah, I've got to get some. Nobody ever does this and puts character into it. So I'm relying on you.
Okay.
I mean, you know, we need some humor.
Have the Easter eggs in there?
I do.
Do I need to be excited when I say what?
However you want to do it. Just there's points for creativity.
Okay.
We got to be obnoxious to amuse people.
Explain the Easter
Okay.
eggs.
All right. In this list, there are 2 Easter eggs. Okay. One of them is going to be a former cryptid that has actually been proven by science. It's a real animal. You can look it up in the dictionary now, and it's there with its picture. The other one is going to be some form of a Bigfoot. And extra points if you can identify and tell us which one is which.
At the end.
Yeah. Well, no, or during. So Jennifer makes people wait to the end. I don't mind. You can do it in the middle. You can say, "Oh, hey, that's a Bigfoot." So, but anyway, here we go. And all right, the Nain Rouge.
I'm going to say yay.
Okay. The Bolter.
Yay.
The Kipsy.
Say what?
The
Not sure what.
Mulio
Okay.
Slug.
Say what?
The
And that's probably going to be real too. So
The Ambezi. Actually, I said that wrong.
I'm going to say.
I was about to say.
I'm going to say yay.
I was about to say it is the Ambezi, actually. So, okay. The Bookwus. Okay.
Never heard of that.
The
So
Nega.
say what?
The Great Auk.
Say what?
And last but not least, Jennifer looked these up. I'm wanting to say Dufon, but is it Dupont?
Dufon. Yeah, Dufon.
Dufon.
I'm going to say yay.
Duphon. You're going to say yay? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. Can you tell us which one was the Bigfoot?
I'm going to say the last one, Dupont.
Okay. He does not get a banana. No prize for that one. I'm sorry. No, it was the Bookwus. Bookwus.
It's actually a Native American term.
Well, yeah, it's the
Bookwus.
kissing, it's the puckering lip Bigfoot from the Indians.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which one?
The Bookwus. And then, did you figure out or suspect the actual animal, the former cryptid?
Former cryptid.
Did any of those stand out as being a real animal?
No.
Okay. The real animal in this case was the great auk.
It's a bird.
Yeah, it's a flightless bird too, isn't it?
Well, it's like a condor.
Oh, is it? I didn't think it was a flight. I didn't think it could fly.
Okay, fine. I admit it has been proven real, but it became extinct like in the 1800s.
Oh.
That
Wait a minute. So are you saying you cheated on the list?
No, it was a cryptid that was proven real, but supposedly became extinct. And you know how that works. There might be some off in some rainforest somewhere.
So we have a cryptid that became real, that went extinct, but you still got crazy people that see it?
Back then.
Well, what about today? Is there still people reporting the great auk hanging out on their back porch?
No.
No? Oh.
I'm sorry, but yeah,
well, I was about to say,
true.
this is sounding like cheating. You're going to give us a bad name.
No, it's not. It's a real cryptid. Proven cryptid.
People are never going to trust
that's kind of similar to the Tasmanian tiger that supposedly
it is.
went extinct.
Yes.
But yet there are still people that see it every once in a while.
This
exactly.
Is true.
Thank you.
Okay. You are defended.
I appreciate that, Barry.
But that there's a lot of things that are considered cryptids that they find to be real animals almost every year.
Oh yeah, all the time.
And here's one thing that people really don't understand, because like I said, I was a truck driver. I've been in every state in the United States except for Rhode Island, in the continental United States. 75% of this country is wilderness. 75%.
Mm-hmm.
Empty wilderness.
Yes. And, you know, you look at the national parks, that's protected land. You look at the reservations, that's all protected land. And that's millions of acres combined. Not to mention, you know, you even have reports of Bigfoot coming up into the city in Los Angeles. But you've got a lot of things everywhere. You know, I've seen some pretty phenomenal pictures of little people that kind of defy logic.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, hey, we need to go ahead and cut this off. I'm sorry, but we got to get to bed, and I got to go pick my daughter up from work.
But please, if you don't mind, expect our call in the future. We would love to talk to you about your other paranormal
we do.
encounters, because it's fascinating.
Yeah,
I find it fascinating.
There's another show up on here.
Y'all can call me anytime or text me anytime. I'm more than welcome to talk to you about anything.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Barry. It was a
Absolutely.
pleasure having you on tonight.
Yes, it was.
And,
I appreciate your time.
All right.
Have a good night.
Yeah, we do appreciate it.
Y'all have a good night, too.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Guests of Cryptid Connection are all members of the Cryptid Connection website. Join the community, a safe, secure, and private place for all your paranormal and cryptid pursuits.
Every cowboy, he always misses when he's aiming at the target in his head. And every broken man finds his idle hands grasping at tomorrow's promised land. And I've been thinking about running, and I'll get out on the town just for myself. And that's when I saw her, and she looked right through me. And when I said I do that day, I really do. 'Cause every cowboy, he always misses his shot when he's aiming at the target in his head. And every broken man finds his idle hands grasping at tomorrow's promised land. And I've been thinking about riding, and when I get the first draft back with no red ink, but I've been thinking to do my best work. Yeah, I've gotta leave this town to find my way. And when that plane touched down on that island town, I knew that my life's work was in their hands. So I started digging wells of water, and I'm a hero in their eyes. It's clear to see. 'Cause every about the time that I have wasted sitting here. 'Cause I've been thinking that all this thinking is the thing that keeps me further from myself.
The music and soundtrack for the opening is from Epic Film Score by Alex Kaskin. The closing credits are Every Cowboy by Cellophane Sam.